TPUSA is so big, and it was never
Yeah.
just Charlie. It was just like some characters, because a guy like Charlie attracts all types of people. I was with him last week. He asked me to be on his show and then to do a freedom night at a church in Phoenix, and we talked about a number of issues. And so I'll be honest with you, I haven't told many people this, but
Citizens, welcome to the show. We wanted to do kind of a outside of our normal airing date show to discuss all things to do with the hero Charlie Kirk and who he was, and we wanted to kind of dive through some of the facts real quick. David's about to go through that.
Yeah, let's go through it. I think today it's interesting because we do face a cultural moment in the aftermath of a couple days where Charlie Kirk was shot for his ideas and his opinions. You also see millions of people celebrate it, which we're going to chat about a bit more. I think we're all forced to ask the question, obviously, what has become of our society? Where are we at? How do we get here? And where is there a way back for us? Yeah. But there has been a suspect that has been arrested. If you have not been following, I'm sure you have, because it's absolutely everywhere. But the suspect that was arrested, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson from Washington County, Utah. He's currently being held without bail in Utah County Jail. He does face several charges. I also know the state of Utah is going to be seeking the death penalty. That's as of earlier today. Crazy thing, he was arrested in a place called St. George, Utah. I was actually there in April, and the place that he was arrested about 2.5 hours south. That's where I went golfing with my buddies, right, for Adam's 40th. And that's about 2.5 hours south of the university of where Charlie Kirk was shot. What we know so far is that he arrived about 25 minutes before Charlie and his Turning Point USA event happened, which Charlie did regularly, debates on university campuses. Apparently there's about 2,000 to 3,000 people there in the courtyard. He was on a roof about 200 yards away using a rifle, a bolt-action rifle, took a shot from 200 yards and obviously shot and killed Charlie Kirk. And then obviously as people started scrambling and running, Charlie was rushed to the hospital, but it sounds like he died obviously very quickly, and it was horrific watching the video. I do not recommend searching it out. I'm glad it's been removed from most places from what I've seen. But the assailant at the time, I guess, ran off the roof on the other side. There's a lot of footage of him jumping off the roof, dropping about maybe 10 feet, 12 feet, running down, escaping into a neighborhood.
I have a few facts about what went down with him.
Let's hear it.
So he's a 22-year-old from Utah, suspect of the shooting, conservative commentator Charlie Kirk. Robinson was arrested about 33 hours into the manhunt. A family member apparently said he had confessed or implied involvement in it.
Yep.
They had turned him in. Authorities recovered the rifle, a bolt action with scope, found wrapped in a towel in nearby woods. Bullet casings were also found with inscriptions on them. One of them had some, I don't even know what it says, what this means. It says notices, bulges, OWO, what's this, written on one. Another one was, hey, fascist, catch, plus arrows. And the arrows were 1 up, 1 right, 3 down.
It's a code for a video game for a drop, kind of like at Modern Warfare or something.
Here's another one, Obella Cio.
Oh, Bella Ciao. That's a former Italian fascist.
If you read this, you are gay. It was written on another one. Yeah. It's like
insane.
Like, what in the world are we talking about?
And then it's interesting. President Donald Trump this morning, I believe, was on Fox and Friends talking about how there was a minister that was involved. As you said, there's a confession, or he hinted at being involved to a family member. And apparently the minister that was involved was a former enforcement officer. I might be getting this kind of fuzzy, but also knew, as President Trump said, was friends with one of the top U.S. Marshals in the country. And so from there, it ended up leading to this young man's arrest, and obviously they're going to be going through what they need to go through. So that is where we're at in the last hour and a half. You and I have been in the studio doing all this, so we if there is any updates, information, but they do have him in custody in county jail, no bail, and they'll be looking over the next several days how this is going to progress forward. So first reactions, Jer, love to hear your thoughts. Obviously Wednesday,
I feel like I've lost a
family
member, to be honest. Like I felt sick to my stomach ever since the moment I've heard about it. I'm not joking, to my stomach the entire time. And I just went up to my room and just started praying. And I feel for our society, there's a very real evil. We can't ignore that when people are celebrating murder. That's a dark time in history. And I believe there'll be more good to come from this than evil. I believe there'll be a lot more people to rise up, take a stand, and continue what Charlie started. And again, I just feel so heavy for his wife Erica and his two children.
Yeah,
like he's a father, a young father, and
a 31-year-old
breaks my heart
with a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and a wonderful wife.
It's so sad.
And what he's accomplished is unbelievable in terms of what he was doing and working after, and looked like he was a relentless worker from day one. I'm the same way with you. There's no words to describe exactly. It's actually, our brains can't make sense of it. We weren't made and built to make sense of that, and even to watch it and to process that. But when I just think, my heart goes out to the family so much, and even more so than that. I, from what I saw yesterday, and I went on and made a donation, is Tucker Carlson started a fund. I give, send, go
for Erica
/ I think it's called / in loving memory of Charlie. He seeded it with $1 million, and the goal is to raise $5 million. And people were giving on there and going that route. And it's not about whether they need the money or not.
Is this for his wife?
Yeah, for the family. I have no idea if they do. And I know Glenn Beck, who's a personal friend of Charlie as well, was stating something about how they don't know if she needs the money or not, but it's going to go towards TPUSA, because they lost obviously their biggest fundraiser, and obviously it's an extremely important organization in the US. But that's besides the point. Being a father, thinking of Gabriel, thinking of my wife, and having another on the way, and you're a father of 3. The father is so central to the home, and that being ripped away and removed away, that's really all that matters at the point of just lifting them up in prayers, because that's horrendous. Because of his faith, he is with Jesus, and that gives some solace to it, but it was horrific. I've caught myself literally stuck in a chair,
staring at the wall,
processing, not making sense, feeling sick, angry.
I've hugged my kids a little tighter. Honestly, like even last night, I was just in a bad mood thinking about it, and I was just like, and Ellis was like, Dad, can we go for a bike ride at this? I'm like, and I just didn't want to do anything. And then I was just like, no. I'm like, if anything, it's just caused me to think a little bit more and a little deeper and take a little more action. I was like, absolutely, let's go for a bike ride. Charlie would, like, what would Charlie give to go for a bike ride with his kids? And so it's pushed me to be a better man, a better father, go harder, stand for truth, and I hope more people do that.
Paul, our producer, put up something that actually moved me. It was in the background image of Charlie walking with his wife and kids. And I think Paul wrote something about, I love walking with my wife and daughter. It's one of the most precious moments we have, just to enjoy and walk. And something like that we can take for granted so easy. But now I look back, and it's like, what is important in our life? And what are we doing? We only have a limited amount of time. And it really, I hope it begs a question for you as an audience is, what am I doing with the time that I have? Am I loving the people that are around me that I can love? Am I making an impact? Am I helping others? Am I standing up for what I believe in? And I think Charlie embodied all of those things. And his faith obviously was central to his life. And
the guests that we have today, you have lined them up. And do you want to tell the viewers a bit about why we've got them today?
Nathan Finochio, a friend of ours. He's Canadian, lives in the United States, founder of TheosU. He's a commentator. He's just a good dude all around.
Friend of Charlie.
He personal friend of Charlie. Was actually just with Charlie the week before in Phoenix doing an event. Nathan was on his show. Then they did an evening event together, I think at a church in Phoenix. So knew him since probably 5-6 years ago. And he'll have some awesome insights. I appreciate his thoughts. We're going to ask him some tough questions and kind of hear his thing. All right, Nathan, thank you for joining us, man. Appreciate you taking some time.
Welcome to the show.
We wanted to, with our audience, obviously chat through, and we've been reflecting for a couple days now on the assassination, actually, of Charlie Kirk down in Utah. Just horrific events, and I think it's going to be a while to digest and really get our heads wrapped around it. Still heartbroken, doesn't make sense. Wanted to get your perspective, value your thoughts and opinions. First off, maybe just tell us initial reactions when you found out. We also understand you were with him the week before doing an event. Talk us through that.
I met Charlie believe in 2018 or 2019, with his pastor in Phoenix. And yeah, just kind of, he was sort of starting to do what he was doing, not at the level, but he, Turning Point USA was starting to gather some steam, and we exchanged numbers. He knew about Theos, and anyway, so we connected, stayed, quite in touch for the next number of years. We used to make fun of TPUSA every now and then on our meme page, and he didn't like that. But TPUSA is so big, and it was never just Charlie. It was just like some characters, because a guy like Charlie attracts all types of people. But I was with him last week. He asked me to be on his show, and then to do a freedom night at a church in Phoenix, and we talked about Islam. We talked about a number of issues. And the really passionate guy backstage, I was ribbing him about South Park, and I told him, dude, you're the golden boy in my estimation forever. They have gilded you. Once you're on South Park, you've made it. And so I'll be honest with you, I haven't told many people this, but I was on the phone with my friend Jesse Newman, who I saw the last time I saw Jesse. It was at Turning Point USA headquarters like 6 months earlier. And we were just talking, we were catching up. He just built a brand new church building. And so we're talking, and Russell Johnson texts me, and he says, Charlie just got shot. So I got on the phone with Jesse, and Charlie was alive, got off the phone, and he was gone. It was just the weirdest thing ever. But when I was there last week, I was there with a couple guys that were part of Turning Point USA. And I just mentioned to them, I'm like, guys, do you know how many people hate you? Because they had no security. I've been in churches.
Yeah.
In fact, I was at a church on Sunday. Everybody's packing, their security teams, all that stuff. And I was just blown away, at how chill everything was. They had, there's no security gate. I mean, I live in a gated community. Your Turning Point USA, I think they were just laughing. I'm like, guys, you have to, I'm begging, you have to take your security. Do you realize they had no clue? They had no clue. I don't know. So I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated. I'm just like, why? I don't know. Why would he?
Yeah.
Why would he do an outdoor? I just after Butler.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, why would anybody do outdoor things anymore? You know what I mean?
And if you do, cover your bases at least.
Oh, dude.
All the rooftops, all the details. I know. We thought the same thing.
I think just Nathan, just to jump in there, we saw a similar thing, and this is just me speculating, but and I texted you about Sean Foycht, who's coming across Canada, and he was very purposeful about being outdoors in public spaces, and Aristotle said courage is the ultimate virtue. Without it, there is no other virtue, and I think Charlie showed that because he understood. And Reagan even said this too. Democracy is no farther away than one generation from being lost, right? And the open debate, public discourse, the idea of challenging ideas back and forth, requires courage, especially in our day and age, because it's so easy for people to cower. And I think, and you mentioned this. I want to ask you this question. You said people hate you guys. People are really. Why have we got to such a place where ideas, and I'm sure every generation maybe experiences this, but piss them off so much they're willing to kill? How do we get there?
For talking.
Yeah. Look, I think that I think that our society has completely changed. It's one thing for people in the West who embrace Western civilization to discuss things, because they have enough things in common. When you don't have anything in common, like, let's just be honest, diversity is not our strength. It's not. Like, nowhere. That is like probably the dumbest thing that anybody's ever. It's ideology.
Yeah.
Right. It's just not. It's factually not true. Like if you work at Starbucks, you have to learn Starbucks culture. You can't bring your Dunkin' culture to Starbucks, right? An employee from Dunkin' could be like, well, diversity is our strength. This is how we did things at Dunkin'. I don't care. Starbucks is this. If you're going to work here, if you're going to work with us, if you're going to cohabitate with us. So we've been sold this bill of goods that having nothing in common is the best thing to have in common. Like, that's Canada. The only thing that anybody in Canada has in common is that they have nothing in common now. How do you build a society when you have absolutely nothing in common? It doesn't work. And I think that the other thing too is that we have these general ideas, about, for example, like religion. It's a compartment, and we think of religion as spiritual. It's just mere metaphysical subtleties. It's detached from anything real life. But like Christopher Dawson said, that culture is downstream from cult, and cults are not. And by cult I mean Christianity. By cult I mean, religions, etc. They inform our day to day, and they make us think completely differently. Like, and let's be honest, secular humanism they worship something, and their culture is downstream from their cult, the things that they worship.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it's like, I could just blame rhetoric. Well, people are, when you compare everybody to the Nazis, this is what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, that's obviously problematic when the rhetoric is like, well, they're fascists. It's like, well, no, they're not Mussolini. You know what I mean? Like, but beyond just the rhetoric escalating, and the left always does that. Everybody's a Nazi, right? Because if everybody's a Nazi, nobody's a Nazi. But if everybody's a Nazi, then you can just kill them, right? So, but I think that what's happened is society is completely fractured. It's by design. Multiculturalism is doing this. And we have to have more in common than our love for Tim Hortons. That's not how you build a country. And I think that that's why we're here. America crossed a line yesterday. I think that we woke up in a new world yesterday. And this new world is a new world that is headed towards a lot of conflict. And what grieves me is that Charlie Kirk was peaceful. Charlie Kirk was kind. Charlie Kirk might have been pugilistic, but I think that in the public forum, you got to be a little pugilistic, and things are going to things are going to get a little rough, but he was not violent. And the problem now is that when you kill a statesman, the hyenas come and they take their place. And that's really, really sad for America, and it's sad for politics all over the world, because that's where things are headed.
It's I'll say chilling remarks from you, Nathan, on that, because you look at the progression of society, and you hinted on the dehumanization of people, and we'll talk about this later in the show. Reverend's watching a bit more, but you look at how much media, political leaders have had a part to play in this dehumanizing effect, and you look at a young generation of coming out of university, and they're walking through. They're ideologically driven, radicalized in our universities, in our institutions. That's actually supposed to be producing the cream of the crop, and you're seeing this. But when you have leaders, when you have media immediately after in the aftermath of Charlie, justifying, almost taking away from but they're throwing a giant but after this, and that says a lot about the society you're in when you've got leaders. And you can go back last 5-7 years. I don't know the comedian's name, the orange-haired lady comedian holding the severed head of Donald Trump. Maxine Waters calling for violence outdoors. You've got Johnny Depp calling about assassination. We need an actor to step up. You've got other people talking about blowing up the White House. You look on CNN. It's just, you have this rhetoric. In the 60s and 70s, you had political violence. But I would say the media was not involved in the way that it is today. But that dehumanizes people. And Charlie, this quote has been all over the place. I'm going to paraphrase it because I can't remember exactly how it went. But essentially, when we stop talking is when violence begins. I think he said something like that. I don't really have a question. That's just more so a comment.
I would love to get your, a question I have is, what should be our response forward? Like, and I'm sure I'm speaking for almost everybody, is I have this pit of anger in my stomach, and I'm trying to cool that down so that I can be as wise as I can and walk out love as best I can. But at the same time too, we're dealing with evil, and how do we respond? I don't know. What are your thoughts on what we should do going forward?
Yeah. Well, I believe that I'm supposed to love my neighbor, and in fact, it's harder than that. I'm supposed to love my enemies.
Yeah.
So, but there's this paradox where I'm supposed to protect my family and provide for my family.
Yeah. Wow.
So, the way that I love my enemy is by, seeing them as humanizing them, ministering to them, being kind and generous to them, as well as building a latticework, a political latticework that protects me from the macro worldview of my enemy wiping out my civilization. So I can love my Muslim dentist, but also build a political latticework that prevents people that have contrary worldviews that are committed to the destruction of my way of life to taking power in my country. So it's both and. It's radical love and radical political involvement. As long as we have a free democracy. So the church, in my opinion, needs to consolidate power. We need to stop squabbling over things. We need to get on the same page, and we need to become a powerful voting bloc. And we need to be radically generous and kind to people who would love for our families to disappear and our legacy to be completely eradicated.
Wow.
Yeah. I just to add on to that, Nathan, I know you got to go roll right away. But just to add on to that, I do think it's also, people need to realize that it needs to be an all-out assault on standing up for truth in terms of what your convictions are and your beliefs. There's no more of this, for lack of a better word, pussyfooting around people of just because I don't want to hurt their feelings or I don't want to make them feel sad or outcasted. All that.
Yeah.
Excuse my language. We're on YouTube. It's fine. All of that stuff. It's like we tame down what we actually think and say for afraid of hurting someone else's feelings. But the truth of the nature is that we have seen proof in the pudding of principles and foundations that countries have been built on and lives that have been built on that actually produce something that's worth living for and fighting for. And if people are too afraid of that, and Canada is a great example of that, we're already seeing a deterioration in the country. I think it's an all-out assault of conviction in the truth that you stand for, not just on our emotions, but actual something that has a foundation.
Totally. Yeah. Grow thick skin. Don't care if people call you, like, get over people calling you racist. Like, it means nothing anymore. You know what I mean? It doesn't even mean being racist anymore. Like, if you disagree with something, you're racist. If there's these bludgeon tools. You're a Christian nationalist. You're a white supremacist. It's like, I'm a Christian who loves anybody from any background. I love Africans and I love Indians and I love Asians and all of them, but I critique cultural values, which is what you're supposed to do, because culture is human made. It's not your skin color that you can't change. Culture is something that we can change, and they can be evaluated. And so Christians need to like grow a pair and stick to the values that the Judeo-Christian values of Western civilization, and critique things and not be afraid of all of the names that they're going to call us. You're a Christian nationalist because you vote Christian values. Like, no, yes, I am. Yes, I am a Christian nationalist. I'm a Christian, and I believe in the concept of nations, and I'm a Christian, and I'm going to vote my conscience. So if you want to, that's not going to bludgeon me. You're not going to intimidate me to not vote my conscience. If anything, I'm doubling down. I don't care what you call me anymore. So we have to get over this nomenclature that we're afraid to be called online, that they try to use in order to silence us and to shove us in the political closet, and be ashamed of the gospel, essentially.
Yeah, man. I'm with you on that.
Absolutely, yeah. Well
dude, we're appreciative of your time. I know you got stuff going on in your world and everything that's going on. Any last comments? Maybe just tell us maybe about a quick little experience with Charlie in the last, anything funny happened between you guys? What was the little thing that stood out? What will you remember him as?
Yeah, he was a king in his castle. People just loved him and adored him. And he was always, I got photos of him. I was looking through photos of him and myself on my phone, and he's always smiling, just grinning, like a bobcat. And that was him. He was a fun guy. The serious guy was the guy that engaged in stuff, but he had a great sense of humor. Like right down to the South Park thing, that I was just like, bro, I'm like, I loved it. I'm like, it was so funny. They were crushing you, the way you hold your water bottle. And he loved it. He was like, yeah, I loved it. It was so good. And I think that's, it just speaks volumes of just like, you kind of have to have a sense of humor, and take your ribbings, take the caricatures, of yourself. He was a sweet guy, man, and I'm just absolutely devastated for America. I'm devastated for the world, because it's just a realization of things that we already knew were happening, and it's just like, it sucks that we're here now, but we've crossed a line. Here we are. So.